And she was speaking for like the white community. And I know everybody knows that it's not everybody, but she was saying in her circle of people that it was understood that Black women are okay if their husbands go across town. This is what she said. Go across town and make families.
The slave owner would either sell you or sell your children or take your wife as his own.
And you can't do anything about
and you can't do anything about it. So now, not only does that make you feel less than, that makes you value your wife and your children as less than, because they could be gone at any minute. You learn not to have that attachment. And as we all know scientifically, trauma, just like genetics, can be passed down.
It's generational.
It's generational. That's where the word generational curse comes from.
Hello, everybody, and welcome back to today's episode of Ask 'Em, Ask Ed and Maya. We appreciate you so much for coming in to join us today. We have a special edition. We are celebrating Juneteenth today. So we're just gonna open up like with a mini little lesson, because I know that we're having cookouts and everybody's celebrating, but do you really understand why we're celebrating? Because it's a fairly new holiday as far as a federal holiday. So we're gonna just take a dig in just to make sure that you understand that. And we're gonna look at how slavery impacted or still impacts Black marriages today. So from bondage to marriage, that's what we're looking at today. If you have not already subscribed to our channel, go ahead and knock that out right now. Share and like this video so that everybody can hear it. All right, y'all ready to dive in? I actually wrote down some stuff that I wanted to share with you about what Juneteenth is and why we celebrate, and then we'll dive in, okay? We celebrate Juneteenth to commemorate the freeing of enslaved African Americans in the United States. Abraham Lincoln issued the Emancipation Proclamation on January 1st, 1863, but that news did not reach all the slaves at that time. So imagine being free, but you don't know you're free. Let that sink in. You're free, but you don't know yet. So on June 19th, 1865, 2.5 years later, a Union Army general arrived at Galveston, Texas, and let the people know, hey, baby, y'all free, boo. Like, y'all been here for 2.5 years. Y'all been free for a minute. Like, come on, you're free. So Juneteenth is also known as Freedom Day, Emancipation Day, and Jubilee Day. It's an important holiday that recognizes the resilience, struggle, and achievements of African Americans throughout history. It serves as a reminder of the enduring fight for freedom, justice, and equality.
The celebration of Juneteenth has grown over the years and has become an opportunity to honor African American culture and heritage. It is marked by various activities, such as community gatherings, parades, music festivals, educational events, and discussions about the history of slavery and its impact on society. Juneteenth provides a space for reflection, education, and the promotion of racial harmony and understanding if you're willing to have the conversations. Key point. In 2021, Juneteenth was officially recognized as a federal holiday in the United States, further solidifying the significance in the nation's history and culture.
So piggybacking off the discussions about the history of slavery and its impact on society, I want to talk about its impact on Black marriages in America. So let me tell you a story about one of my coworkers. I had in the past a white female coworker, and we were like besties at work. We were work besties. And so we were each other's insight into the opposite cultures. So she would come to me with Black questions, and then I'll ask her her thoughts on things. And so it was a good, safe place to have these what can be vulnerable conversations. And so just one of the days, you know, she knew that I wouldn't be offended. She just really had questions. And when you have those questions, you have to have somebody you can go to, or you live in a place where generalizations or stereotypes really rule and abide, and you live your life as if those are the gospel truth.
Yeah, you're in your own bubble.
I appreciated her coming to me with the questions that she had. So this is what she said. She said, I told my husband I was going to ask you this, and he said, you better not ask her that. Like, she's going to be offended if you ask her that. And I was like, no. She was like, it's a Black question. And I was like, no, go ahead and ask. So she said, is it true that you guys like let your men cheat? And I said, wait a minute, what you mean? What do you mean let them cheat? And she was like, is it just okay? She said, because our understanding, and she was speaking for like the white community. And I know, everybody knows that it's not everybody, but she was saying in her circle of people, her sphere of influence and communication, that it was understood that Black women are okay if their husbands go across town, this is what she said, go across town and make families. And that we allow that in our community, that they can have, a wife and then maybe a little girlfriend here, girlfriend there, make babies everywhere he goes. Mm-hmm. And then he might go see them sometimes, and he just spends a little time at each one. And I said, girl,
I know you are happy to correct this.
Girl, you should know enough about me
More than happy
to know that I'm not okay with Ed Geths going around town making babies. And no, I don't share Ed Geths. And I'm not okay with it. Now.
Maybe not across town. Maybe another state.
Now, I mean.
Another, you just going to ignore it like I ain't.
What'd you say, baby?
Nothing.
You had something you wanted to say something?
Nothing.
Okay. I'm going to give you, my king, give you the opportunity to speak. So with this conversation, she said that she actually heard this from a Black woman. And that, it didn't shock her because she had heard it before, was that she was okay. She said, well, he paid some bills. And so, yeah, he got a family over there, but it ain't no big deal or whatever. And I said that was an isolated incident. Mm-hmm. And I think that that's the case in several cultures. You might find a woman who is okay with that, or not necessarily okay. She puts up with that. And that's her thing. That's her choice. But I don't think that it's because she was Black that made her make a decision. I'm okay with my husband doing X, Y, and Z. I think that's just something that some people are okay with. It's not a Black thing. And so I was talking with Ed, and I was like, why is that a thing? Why does she say that a lot of white people think that? Like, why do they even have that? Where does that even start? And if we're honest, it has happened. Like, it does happen sometimes. And some people do have that to deal with, but where does that originate? And so my question to him, so I guess I ask him would be, how do you feel what happened to our people during slavery affects the way we relate to each other in today's marriages? Like, how did what happened to the Black family during slavery, when the males would be sold off? He would say, okay, yeah, y'all can go have a marriage, and they would let them have a ceremony and make babies.
It wasn't legally recognized.
And when they were ready to get rid of him, they would just take him out of the home and sell him to another farm where he would then have another family. Or they would emasculate him by what they call breaking the buck and rape him in front of his women.
Oh, you getting some, you cutting. All right, I'm gonna rewind back. I'm gonna touch it because it's a myriad of topics that affected just the Black man, then the Black family, and then the Black mother.
There we go. I want to hear your thoughts.
So my thoughts, first off, on the Black man, he had to, one, know his place. He had to know that he belonged to the master. If you go, one of the greatest movies capturing the heritage of Black people was Roots. And the first thing they wanted to do to Kunta Kinte, I know we make a lot of jokes about people that are really black being called Kunta and this and that, but the original story of Kunta Kinte was he was still trying to hold on to his heritage from Africa. He wanted his family to know they came from Africa. He wanted his children to know that you are, free men and da-da-da. Well, of course, the slave owner couldn't have that. So they broke him first by beating him and making him change his name to Toby. He refused. He would run away. It's like, you know what, I'm not going to be somewhere where I can't feel free. And he'd run away several times. So he was getting quite good at it. So then they chopped off his foot to make it hard for him to run away. And I think that's what finally in his mind is like, you know what, they broke him. Okay. And so, that's the first thing they do is kind of make you feel like you're less than, okay? So then now, what makes a man feel like a man? A woman. And he starts and has a family. Well, of course, you can't feel like yourself. So then the slave owner would either sell you or sell your children or take your wife as his own.
And you can't do anything about it.
And you can't do anything about it. So now, not only does that make you feel less than, that makes you value your wife and your children as less than because they could be gone at any minute. You learn not to have that attachment. And as we all know scientifically, trauma, just like genetics, can be passed down.
It's generational.
It's generational. That's where the word generational curse comes from. Part of it is those habits that we had, detaching yourself from your wife because she could be gone at any minute, detaching yourself from your husband because he could be gone at any minute, detaching yourself from your children and your family because they could be gone at any minute.
So a generational, a coping mechanism became a generational detachment.
Correct.
That has to be dealt with and broken.
Correct.
For a proper union. Correct. In today's society.
Correct.
Okay.
Because no matter how ceremonial we can be, because we had the ceremony, like you say, we had to jump in the room and everything, there's still that detachment, that fear that lingers in the back of your mind that, you know what, this could be taken from me, or she does not really belong to me until she does. She belongs to me until she doesn't. So there's that psychological part of it. And then you take, again, the black woman. The black woman now, her husband is taken away from her, or, she's used to breed. Remember, there was also breeding. You've got to touch on that, where they are used to breed if she's an intelligent or strong or healthy, beautiful, servant, then, I'm trying to keep it delicate, slave, but servant, but, she's used to make other beautiful, strong, intelligent slaves. And so her value just becomes what she does, you know what I'm saying, as far as creating other slaves. And so not only...
I don't mean to cut you off, but I guess to interject right there, that could be where the Players Club mentality, use what you got to get what you want.
Correct.
If you flirt with a master just a certain kind of way, you're still a slave.
Still a slave.
But you might get a perk or two here.
You might get a perk or two if you're nice
up
about it. You don't want to do it, but sometimes you learn to be like, you know what? This body of mine, this face of mine
can get me some perks.
This way I talk, the way I move, gets the master's favor. You start using that and figure like that's what's going to work wherever you go. Right. You know what I'm saying? What can you do for me monetarily? What can you do for me favor-wise? Can you, transfer to the day? Can you get me a car? Can you get me a better lifestyle? Can you get me out of this situation? Can you pay my bills?
Even though I remain a slave to you.
Yes.
I might be willing to do that just to get a step ahead.
Just to get a step ahead. And I'm not getting treated like these people out here in the fields. I'm not getting disrespected. I have an important place in the house, in the master's eyes, in the society's eyes, because I am using what I have to get what I want. Not knowing that, you know what, I need to keep my bond, my family. That's what the value is. Well, my family keeps getting broken up. So that doesn't have the same value as getting favors from the master. The value system is down. So our value system of family has been broken down over the years. And don't get me wrong, Black people, we try hard to keep it. That's why we do, as you know, I mean, I talk to, like how you say you have white friends you talk to about, I talk to my white friends about family reunions. Like, they don't have what you call reunions. There's no celebration because their family meets together all the time. Every Christmas, every holiday, every time somebody has a baby, funeral, like they get together. We have to have a reunion so that we can remember who because our family is here, there, everywhere. Yeah, we're so spread apart. That's where reunions came from because we're like, man, remember we got a group of guests live in New York.
We had to scatter to survive.
We had to scatter to survive.
People had to move for jobs, to get away from sharecropping.
People had to
run
go
away. North, had to go here, there. Yeah. So we got scattered.
We probably got members in Canada. We probably got people that escaped to South America.
Right.
We got people that probably escaped to Mexico. We're all over the place as far as a race of people.
Right. Those are some good points as far as so that brings us to now. So starting slavery and generationally, just one after another, just keeping parts and pieces of that trauma. So it shows up in pieces now.
It does.
So how do you combat that? How do you combat that so that the way outside people view us, the way the stereotypes are created about us? Because some of them are, of course, magnified, but then there is some truth there. There is some truth to a lot of stereotypes.
There is some truth.
What do we do now? Because we can only deal with now. I would love to go back and erase some of that stuff.
You can't erase it.
But how do people in relationships that the people that are watching right now and they see that some of this trauma has come up in their relationship with their father or their mother or their spouse and their children, like, what do we do now to work through this trauma?
I believe in the phrase "each one teach one." I believe one, is important that your children know your history. Two, it's important that you learn from elders. Elders are always important to learn from. Some of them, even though they're stuck in their ways, you always take whatever nuggets you learn about your elders and then what you learn from what comes out of their mouth, but also learn from people that are around them. Talk to your elders. Like one thing I've learned, that my grandfather, he had life told through one way. His brother may tell it another way, and he may say something about your grandfather. Like, I'm like, man, granddad is really honoring. He's not, well, he saw his brother get hung by the KKK. And then you like, oh, you know what I'm saying? That helps you understand. So try to learn as much about what your elders say and what they don't say. Look up the times in which they lived, and so you can understand, this is why they don't let us stay out past the street light. Because in sundown towns, this is another history, Black people weren't allowed to walk the street, or they could end up hung or beaten or arrested. So all of those things play a part in dealing with it. And let's be honest, us as Black folks have run away from the word therapy and, and getting help. That is necessary. I think, we were never offered any type of mental health to treat the trauma of slavery, Jim Crow, civil rights. And so we deal with those things. So now when we have, Black Lives Matter issues, when we have justice system issues, when we have, racial discrimination in the workplace issues, we should probably talk to somebody. Like, there should be either a trusted pastor or therapist, or depending on how deep you can go, psychologist. Some of us need to, that are self-medicating, need to go to rehab, and you'll learn more about yourself. So I say connect with your history, teach your children, get some
help.
therapy.
So connecting with your history, and as you learn things about yourself and why you are the way you are, that is so important. That's so good, because like the struggles that we do have are often connected to something that happened before, in generations before us, and that's biblical. The Bible says that can fall on generations and generations, if not broken. So there are things that we have to be mindful of and diligent to break.
Yes.
There are, evil covenants that have been made on our behalf before we even got here.
Right.
That our great grandmothers or great grandfathers, set up, that we have to pray and fast against for ourselves and for our children. And so coming into that knowledge, like seeking God diligently, even if you don't have your mom, like my mom is gone. My mom has already passed away. I can't go talk to my mother or my grandmother or my great grandmother about anything that happened in my history. So speaking to a person like me, and I can't go ask these questions, but I can go to God. And God can reveal these things to you that need to be broken. And so don't sleep on that.
Yeah.
That's a greater connection than any, familiar one that you can do. So get into your word and pray specifically for the revelations of what you need to know and what needs to be broken in your life and in your bloodline, so that you can get the help that you need. And you can't, we say all the time, like my mentor says, you can't be your best self by yourself. You really do need someone. And we are relationship coaches, and we don't just help people that are seeking relationship for romantic relationships. Seeking help for romantic relationships, but relationships with, relatives or coworkers.
Yes.
But we do not deal with trauma or, past trauma or anything that needs medication. So if you need, help with breaking different addictions or anything like that, then we heavily suggest getting a psychologist, and we would love to work alongside with you.
Correct.
But getting that help is important. Invest in yourself. Do not fall into the trap of, I don't want those people to know my business. Like, you really need somebody to walk with you. As you can hear, we have been through a lot.
Yes.
And our people have been through a lot. And as we celebrate today being free, that being free is just the first step. It's almost like when you receive salvation. You are free indeed. You're going to heaven, but that is just the first step towards living that life. There are lots of things that you have to learn and walk through. And as you learn to put on the whole armor of God for your protection, and there's work to be done for the kingdom. Same thing, when slaves were free, they were free, but then what? Then you have to go through sharecropping and people taking advantage. Fast forward all the way to 2023, and we still have people that are being just killed, just unarmed, innocent people being gunned down, and sometimes there's no justice there. And so these are still things that we are battling right now. So making sure that you take care of your mental health, and making sure that your children know what their history is. And that you are advocating for our people.
And Chris Rock, a comedian, a lot of things I learn a lot from comedians. Other than laughter, is like they do a great job of giving a message while also masking their pain, while also making us laugh about what you've been through. Because sometimes it takes that, you know what I'm saying? Because sometimes, because like we got real serious and deep, but sometimes you have to laugh and feel good to know that, even though we've gone through such trauma, life is worth living. You get what I'm saying? Because he said, slaves were free, but it was like letting a caged bird go, but then tying a brick to its back.
Right.
That's how we were. So we could, it was like we were free, but we still couldn't move around the country like everybody else was. So we was still.
Because when we started moving, they were like, "Are you moving?"
Right.
Like, we wanted you free, but we didn't want you free.
Yeah, free. Y'all still stay over there. Yeah. And y'all still live off us, but don't come over here. You know, we just ain't gonna, probably whip and beat you no more. So, well, we are, but as long as you stay in your place. It was all kind of rules and mechanisms put into place. But again, I'm glad you said that about the prayer part, about being able to go to God. We go to God about so many things we need in the right now for daily needs, food, shelter, clothing, strength, happiness, spirituality. But also, you can always go to God to be like, you know what? What have I gone through? What in my family do I need to shake off so that I can make sure our future generations, that takes a special kind of prayer and a special kind of task to be able to take that on. Like, you know what? Not only am I praying for the right now, I want to pray over what has happened so that we can better the future.
That's actually something that I'm praying about right now. My mother and her two sisters, there were no boys, just the three of them, they all passed away in their 60s. And so did my grandmother in the 60s. And so the women in my family, we've been talking and praying about like what is going on in our bloodline that would allow what we feel like premature deaths of the women. And so we really, and like I said, we don't have that connection to dig to see what someone may have been involved in, if there is witchcraft there or anything in previous. All I know, my mom was saved, sanctified, filled with the Holy Ghost. But I don't know. And her mama was. But what about before that? And before that, we don't know. And so we will be diligently praying and declaring and decreeing that anything attached to our bloodline is completely binded and sent to hell from which it came in the name of Jesus, because I have a daughter and I need this broken for me and for her. And so this is a real thing. Like it's a spiritual battle. If it's moving, if you think about the way that these generational things that we talked about are moving through, it's not just happening through word of mouth. This is through our blood. And that's spiritual. And the only way to combat, you can't fight. We don't wrestle against flesh and blood. Look it up. This is a spiritual battle that we as a people have to fight.
Yep.
And so you have to go straight to the word of God and get covering to fight this way. And so I challenge you to pray that prayer. Pray to God and ask what is there in your bloodline that you need to be praying and fasting about so that it can be broken for you and for your children and for your children's children. I hope you guys have an amazing Juneteenth.
Have a good Juneteenth, guys.
Hey, what is the stereotype? Black people like fried chicken, and we do like chicken.
We do like fried chicken.
And we do like a piece of watermelon. I hope I get me some today.
we own that.
Yeah, I'm on that stereotype.
We do party hard and we enjoy days off.
And just to answer the question that my coworker had, I almost said her name. I love you, girl. Just to answer the question, no, we are not okay with that. And no, it's not okay for Black men to make families all over the place. Yes. So, like I said, if you're tuning in late and you haven't subscribed to our channel, please subscribe below, like the video, share it, and if you want to hear more about what we offer, then go on over to www.onevisionerc.com. Yep. For the people in the back, www.onevisionerc.com. We love you bunches. Until next time.